especially patients who have autoimmune disease. For example, many patients have rheumatoid. And the moment we change their diet, their lifestyle, the frequencies of eating, introduce a little bit of fasting, so we do everything, right? We've changed the gut microbiome. We've made the liver better by giving them some supplements. We do intermittent fasting. We do some exercises. We give them some stress management. We improve their sleep. All of a sudden, the joint pains get better. Rheumatoid gets better. Skin diseases get better. Psoriasis gets better. Because it's the fundamental underlying part is all inflammation.
This is a random one, but I'm just connecting dots from different podcast guests I've had on the show. What about bad breath?
Bad breath. Bad breath is real.
But what is it? Is my oral microbiome linked to my heart health?
Yes. There's a microbiome that goes all the way from your nose, mouth, all the way down to the anus. And each one is specific and can predict whether you're going to get cardiovascular disease or not. There's unequivocal data to show that if you have bad teeth, bad dental hygiene, bad bacteria in your mouth, you're going to get valvular disease, such as aortic stenosis, premature calcification of your aortic valve, and you're going to get coronary calcification. That's been proven unequivocally. Patients who have chronic sinusitis so you think that that's benign? If you have chronic sinusitis.
What's chronic sinusitis?
Chronic sinusitis. Infections inside your maxillary sinuses, frontal sinuses constantly, and you get these headaches, and you get the cold, and your blocked nose, and you constantly clogged up inside here. That's inflammation. And oftentimes, that's also linked to premature coronary artery disease and inflammation in your body, especially when it's fungal. There's a condition called fungal sinusitis. Again, it comes down to mold. And this mold, it causes that low-grade inflammation in your body. And this has been linked to coronary artery disease. You see, what's happening is we're transforming the whole definition of the causes of coronary artery disease. We have been so myopic in our definition of what causes coronary artery disease. Whereas everything, your entire lifestyle, mental, physical, eating, everything will affect your coronary arteries. Everything.
Do you think much about overstimulation? Really mean like too much caffeine. Does too much caffeine play a role? And I say this in part because I think there's been a few times where I've had like a pre-workout or too many glasses of coffee and I've got like heart palpitations and you almost like feel like you're dying.
Yes. Caffeine is very similar to the adrenaline molecule. Now, why would you want to have too much adrenaline in your body? Because then you're living in a state of existential threat constantly. And then what happens? You don't get the offset either, so you don't get the parasympathetic, so you're only in sympathetic all the time.
That fight or flight.
All the time. So caffeine generates that. And the physiology it'll do. Look, caffeine is not as benign as we think it is. Now, there's nothing wrong with having 1 or 2 coffees a day. That's fine, okay? But I know people who drink about 6 glasses or 6 cups of coffee a day, and I think that's toxicity. You see? That's toxicity. Too much caffeine. And it's a diuretic. And a diuretic will cause intravascular volume depletion, and that also turns on your neurohormonal activations. So you become more sympathetic. You see? So it's a vicious cycle. Makes you dehydrated.
I was reading about this earlier because I did have heart palpitations one day because I think I drank too much coffee. And what I see here in the research says that moderate caffeine is safe and even heart protective for most people, but excessive caffeine, when you get above 600 milligrams a day, can raise blood pressure, trigger arrhythmias, and stress the heart.
Yes. Now, I want to tell you why coffee is good. It's not good because of the caffeine. And so it's not good that, I'm getting that caffeine, so it's good for me. No, because believe it or not, coffee has a lot of soluble fiber in it. So there is some soluble fiber in it. And it has polyphenols. So coffee has polyphenols, just like how cocoa has. Cocoa, cacao, 85% cacao chocolate. That's fantastic. It's got soluble fiber. Because who's going to consume the soluble fiber? It's actually the bacteria. So a coffee a day is actually good for you for a different reason. It's good because it's good for your bacteria. Because it's getting soluble fiber and it's getting polyphenols. And all those polyphenols are consumed by your bacteria.
They call cacao, don't they, the something of the heart. My girlfriend's quite spiritual, and in her practice, they call it like the heart medicine, cacao.
Cacao, it is, because it has a lot of antioxidants and it has a lot of soluble fiber. So wait a second, it's a soluble fiber? Yes, because that's fostering the growth of the good microbiome. The good microbiome is then going to produce postbiotics, and the postbiotics are going to give you all the benefit that you're going to need. So it's going to cause less leaky gut, less inflammation, and your enteric nervous system, your vagus nerve is going to be protected, because we're destroying our vagus nerve right now with the leaky gut.
When people get heart palpitations, I imagine a lot of them message you, because it's quite scary, isn't it, when you feel your heart beating? What is typically going on, and when is it cause for concern if you've got heart palpitations?
Yeah. If you have underlying structural heart disease, let's say you have blocked arteries, let's say you have a cardiomyopathy, a valvular disease, and you're having an arrhythmia, which is palpitations, that is definitely life-threatening. They need to come straight to the office, and we need to monitor you and find out what's going on. But let's say you're otherwise perfectly healthy, young person, perfectly healthy, no heart disease whatsoever, and you're having palpitations, then it's usually an imbalance of your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system.
You're too stressed.
It's basically either too much sympathetic or not too much sympathetic, but you have too little parasympathetic. And that is one thing that I want people to realize, that if you've knocked your vagus nerve off because you have a leaky gut or because of your lifestyle and your vagus nerve is not working very well, you will have this imbalance, because the imbalance is not with absolute levels. It's the relative levels of sympathetic versus parasympathetic. So, for example, I see a lot of young women in their 30s and 20s who come to me with tachycardia. They have a rapid heartbeat all the time, and especially when they stand up, they get a rapid heartbeat. This is called postural orthostatic tachycardia. And when they come to me, I find out that it's actually the gut. I fix their gut, and the tachycardia gets better. Because by fixing the gut, I'm fixing the vagus nerve. By fixing the vagus nerve, the heart rates come down.
I've built companies from scratch and backed many more. And there's a blind spot that I keep seeing in early stage founders. They spend very little time thinking about HR. And it's not because they're reckless or they don't care. It's because they're obsessed with building their companies. And I can't fault them for that. At that stage, you're thinking about the product, how to attract new customers, how to grow your team, really how to survive. And HR slips down the list because it doesn't feel urgent. But sooner or later, it is. And when things get messy, tools like our sponsor today, JustWorks, go from being a nice to have to being a necessity. Something goes sideways and you find yourself having conversations you did not see coming. This is when you learn that HR really is the infrastructure of your company, and without it, things wobble. And JustWorks stops you learning this the hard way. It takes care of the stuff that would otherwise drain your energy and your time, automating payroll, health insurance benefits, and it gives your team human support at any hour. It grows with your small business from startup through to growth, even when you start hiring team members abroad. So if you want HR support that's there through the exciting times and the challenging times, head to justworks.com now. That's justworks.com. I've just invested millions into this and become a co-owner of the company. It's a company called Ketone IQ, and the story is quite interesting. I started talking about ketosis on this podcast and the fact that I'm very low carb, very, very low sugar, and my body produces ketones, which have made me incredibly focused, have improved my endurance, have improved my mood, and have made me more capable at doing what I do here. And because I was talking about it on the podcast, a couple of weeks later, these showed up on my desk in my HQ in London, these little shots. And oh my God, the impact this had on my ability to articulate myself, on my focus, on my workouts, on my mood, on stopping me crashing throughout the day was so profound that I reached out to the founders of the company, and now I'm a co-owner of this business. I highly, highly recommend you look into this. I highly recommend you look at the science behind the product. If you want to try it for yourself, visit ketone.com/Stephen for 30% off your subscription order, and you'll also get a free gift with your second shipment. That's ketone.com/Stephen. And I'm so honored that once again a company I own can sponsor my podcast. Let's talk about the vagus nerve then. Before we do that, I had a little incident actually caused by Jemima, who's out there. Jemima, we were in this little fitness competition, and Jemima decided that she wanted to beat me, and so she cycled 100 kilometers one day. She cycled for 4 hours, which meant that she had more minutes in this fitness competition than I did. So my rebuttal was to do the same, but more. So the next day I cycled just over 100 kilometers on my Peloton at home. Funnily enough, it took me like 4 hours to do it. And then I came off the Peloton, I was celebrating, whatever, won this gold medal emoji as my reward that month. but also I want heart palpitations that stayed with me for a little while. And I was wondering why that happened. So I did this big vigorous exercise, which was kind of outside of my usual exercise regime. And then for a couple of weeks, I could feel these heart palpitations. And is that because of what you were saying about my parasympathetic vagus nerve? What do you think happened there?
Yes. Over-exercise. This has been shown. When you do what you just did, you're diverting blood from your gut to your muscles. Because your muscles, at that point, really need all that blood supply. And this has been well documented. So what happens when you overly exercise like that? You're causing relative ischemia to your gut. Ischemia. What does ischemia mean? Lack of circulation to your gut. So your poor gut at that point had lack of circulation. Relative. Not to the point where it's going to go gangrenous. No, don't get me wrong. But it affects your gut. And in the gut is the enteric nervous system. The vagus nerve ends in your gut lining. And the vagus nerve got affected. So your vagus nerve didn't work very well. When you get vagus nerve not working well, you get too much sympathetic, you're going to get tachycardia, you're going to get arrhythmias, palpitations.
So tell me what the vagus nerve is and what I can do to get my vagus nerve in check. By the way, Jemima, it was totally worth it. But just tell me what I can do to get my vagus nerve in check and what role my vagus nerve plays. I've got this photo here of the vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve is fascinating. It is the largest nerve in the body. And it basically is sending messages from the brain to the whole body and receiving messages back to say what is the state of affairs. And the largest distribution, believe it or not, is all in your gut. Now that tells you something right there, that what is the brain most concerned about? It's most concerned about the most treacherous border in your body, which is your gut. Your gut health is so important that the body has dedicated a huge nerve called the vagus nerve just to take care of your gut. Because your gut is that important. That is why. By the way, it also has endings on the heart, in your lungs, in your face. So there's lots of endings of the vagus nerve.
And what is it doing? Is it basically the communication channel between your gut, your heart, your brain?
State of affairs. What is going on in the gut? What should I be doing? Back and forth, traffic information going back and forth. So the body is supposed to be in a state of sympathetic followed by parasympathetic.
What does that mean?
You run away from the tiger, you hide behind the rock, the tiger is gone now, and now you're supposed to be parasympathetic.
So sympathetic is the fight, parasympathetic is the relaxation.
Rest, relaxation, repair. Guess what? We're not getting enough repair these days because we're constantly in the fight. We never give our chance to go into repair. That's what the problem with the vagus nerve that we have today is. So we don't get a chance. So that is why don't we do it? Well, one is our lifestyle. Two, our gut is not right because it has made our vagus nerve dysfunctional. When I fix the gut, one of the things I notice is heart rate variability gets better. What does that mean, heart rate variability? That means your pulse, with each breath in and each breath out, there's a little variation in your heartbeat. That's called heart rate variability. Now, when you lost your heart rate variability, it means that your vagus nerve is not working very well. In all patients, when I fix the gut, the heart rate variability gets better as well. When you fix the gut, your vagus nerve will be able to work more efficiently and you'll be able to repair yourself after the sympathetic drive. So you get the yin and then you get the yang as well. And the nice thing about the vagus nerve that I find is that you can repair it through the gut, but you can also hack it and you can give it some nutritional supplements. The nutritional supplements are omega-3, which right now 50% of the population is very low in omega-3. And you need DHA and omega-3 to make your vagus nerve work optimally. You need to fix the gut. And thirdly, you can hack the vagus nerve. So how do you do that? You do the breathing exercises. So when you do the deep expiration, you stimulate all those parasympathetic nerve endings and your heart rate goes down, blood pressure goes down.
What kind of breathing exercises? So
breathe in to the count of 4, breathe out to the count of 8. Very simple. I tell it to all my patients. Breathe in to the count of 4, breathe out to the count of 8. It's a deliberately long expiration. You do that for about 10 minutes a day. And when you do that, your vagus nerve is getting stimulated. And any nerve that is stimulated frequently enough will work more efficiently.
What about this eyeball thing that I've heard you talk about where you...
Eyeball does affect the vagus nerve function too. So when you look to the right, look to the left at the top, look down, look left, it stimulates the vagus nerve. There's a nerve on the ear. There's also the vagus nerve that can be stimulated here in the neck. That can be stimulated. The facial nerve also has branches that go to the vagus nerve. So there are a few hacks that people can use. I even have a small contraption that I give patients that wear around the neck, and it releases little signals onto the vagus nerve over here. And I've placed it on patients, and they in front of me, and they'll say, "Oh my God, I already feel so relaxed and nice." And I was shocked when they did that.
I heard you talk about massaging the eyeball.
Yes, and cold water on the eyeballs. So I don't advise massaging too often, but cold water and gentle massage on your eyeballs stimulates the vagus nerve. And you can do it yourself. You'll notice that if you're on a monitor and you do that, your pulse rate goes down. It's the deep dive reflex that we have in all of us. We dive into water.
What about putting an ice pack on the back of your neck?
I think that's fantastic. Back of the neck, but I would prefer the front of the neck.
Oh, okay.
Because the front of the neck is closer. The vagus nerve is very close to the carotid sheath over here. And when you put ice packs on it, the vagus nerve is stimulated.
Humming for 10 minutes?
10 minutes, both sides.
What do you mean by humming? Give me an example.
Oh, humming. Oh, yeah. That sound is transmitted to the vagus nerve. So it's like shaking that vagus nerve, and it creates electrical impulses in the vagus nerve. That's been shown. Singing, humming.
Laughing?
You know that there are laughing clubs? Maybe you should start a laughing club.
That's a good idea.
Laughing clubs, laugh for no reason, just sit there and laugh. So that diaphragmatic movement, that constant diaphragmatic movement in laughing stimulates the vagus nerve.
I've heard you talk about this Valsalva maneuver.
Yeah.
What's that?
The Valsalva is when you breathe in and then you breathe out, but don't let the air out. And you're straining. And that straining compresses the thoracic cavity, but also the abdominal cavity, and stimulates the vagus nerve. And that is also found to be very, very helpful.
And remind me again, if I have a healthy vagus nerve, if I have a calm, healthy vagus nerve, what is the downstream impact going to be across my life?
Downstream impact is going to be faster healing, less coronary disease, less high blood pressure. Your blood will not be so sticky and make blood clots, less inflammatory markers. The blood tests that we do, the interleukin-6, the tumor necrosis factor, the CRP levels, small, dense LDL. We didn't even talk about LDL, but LDL, the bad cholesterol, all those get better.
And what is the role of LDL as it relates to heart disease? Because I've heard this word cholesterol. I really don't understand what it is. Or I know there's good cholesterol, there's bad cholesterol. I guess that bad cholesterol comes from fast food and processed foods and stuff. But simply, what do I need to understand about the role cholesterol plays in heart disease and how to not have bad cholesterol?
The LDL carries most of the cholesterol in the body. So it's not complicated.
LDL is what?
LDL is a lipoprotein, right? And you have HDL, which is good cholesterol, LDL, bad cholesterol, total cholesterol, and triglycerides. Okay, these are the 4 tests. So the LDL is a reflection of your cholesterol. Now, cholesterol is a normal molecule in your body. And you should have cholesterol, because if you don't have cholesterol, I don't think you live too long. And you need to move this cholesterol around your body. Every cell in the body makes cholesterol. Your liver makes most of the cholesterol, actually. Now, what happens is that when that LDL molecule becomes damaged, it becomes a small, dense LDL particle. A damaged LDL causes inflammation, because now you have a molecule that's floating around your body. It's been damaged. It's small, it's dense. Now your white cells, your macrophages, see that and want to gobble it up. That's number 1. Number 2, these molecules get oxidized in the lungs, and then the first place they come out from after the lungs is the coronary arteries. So it's the small, dense LDL particles which are now oxidized they destroy the glycocalyx, which is the lining of the coronary arteries, and they activate the endothelium. When they activate the endothelium, which is the lining of your coronary arteries, that's when you're going to start getting atherosclerosis. So atherosclerosis and LDL are related, but it's not the total cholesterol. It's when you have small, dense, damaged LDL. So let me explain the impact in my practice. Patients come to me because they either cannot tolerate cholesterol medications or they don't want to take cholesterol medications. What I do then is I look and say, okay, your LDL, is it high or low? Is that what I'm really concerned about, or is it that it's small, dense LDL? So I do a subfractionation, and this is important for you to understand because they don't do it in every country in the world. It's very difficult to get some of these blood tests abroad. But in the United States, it's easy to do it. It's called subfractionation of your LDL.